In part, I was writing a movie, I was going in to pitch a movie called Interstellar. At the time, Steven Spielberg was the director, and he wanted to do a grounded movie about the future of space travel. So I came in and my pitch was very short. I said the movie's going to be 10 minutes long because it's not happening. This was about 10 years ago. We're not going. There's no money left. This is not a priority for us anymore. And then in the course of, and somehow I got the job, in the course of writing the movie, working with Kip Thorne, a physicist, invited me to a physics conference one night, and I got seated next to Elon. We've been friends ever since. The irony of that being, I wound up becoming friends with a guy who I think personally is moving the needle back in the other direction, kind of by himself at this point, more than anyone I can think of. So the net result is, I think we are going back to the moon. I think we are going to Mars, and I think a lot of it is because of you. So one of the questions we've got here today, one of the questions that you guys have submitted that I love is, it's simple. Mars, how can we help?
Well, let's see. So, in the short term, Mars is really about getting the spaceship built. We're making good progress on this on the ship and the booster, codenamed BFR.
What does that stand for again?
Well, it's a bit of it's like sort of a Rorschach test in acronym form, and it is very big. Yeah. And I gave a presentation on this at the International Astronautical Congress in Australia last year, and that design is evolving rapidly. We're actually building that ship right now. I think right now that the biggest thing that would be helpful is just general support and encouragement, and goodwill. I think once we build it, there will be we'll have a point of proof, something that other companies and countries can then go and do. Like, they currently don't think it's possible, so if we show them that it is, then I think they'll up their game, and they will build interplanetary transport vehicles as well. Now, once that has been built, and there's a means of getting cargo and people to and from Mars, as well as to and from the moon, and other places in the solar system, then I think that's really where there's a tremendous amount of entrepreneurial resources that are needed, because you've got to build out the entire base of industry, everything that allows human civilization to exist, and it's going to be harder. A lot harder in a place like Mars or the moon.
We're going to need some volunteers to be colonists. Do we have any colonist volunteers here for Mars?
Actually, not many hands raised, by the way. I mean, the moon and Mars are often thought of as like, is this some escape hatch for rich people? But it won't be that at all. It's anyone who, for the early people that go to Mars, it'll be far more dangerous. I mean, really, it kind of reads like Shackleton's ad for Antarctic explorers. You know, it's like difficult, dangerous, good chance you'll die. Excitement for those who survive. That kind of thing. And I think there's not many people who actually want to go in the beginning, because all those things I said are true. But there'll be some who will, for whom the excitement of the frontier and exploration exceeds the concern of danger. And they will start off building the most elementary infrastructure, just a base to create propellant, a power station, glass domes in which to grow crops. all the sort of fundamentals, without which you cannot survive. And then really there's going to be an explosion of entrepreneurial opportunity, because Mars will need everything from iron foundries to pizza joints to nightclubs.
Definitely pizza joints.
I think Mars should really have great bars. The Mars bar. Sorry. Look, I love dad jokes. All right? What's wrong with me? I'm dad.
What do you think the timeline for this is?
So I'm feeling pretty optimistic about the timeline, although I can be a little. Sometimes my timelines are a little, you know. People have told me that my timelines historically have been optimistic, and so I'm trying to recalibrate to some degree here. But I can tell you what I know currently is the case is that we are building the first ship, the first Mars or interplanetary ship right now, and I think we'll be able to do short flights, short sort of up and down flights, probably sometime in the first half of next year. And this is a very big booster and ship. The liftoff thrust of this would be about twice that of a Saturn V. So it's capable of doing 150 metric tons to orbit and be fully reusable. So the expendable payload is around double that number. So what's amazing about this ship, assuming we can make full and rapid reusability work, is that we can reduce the marginal cost per flight dramatically, by orders of magnitude compared to where it is today. This question of reusability is so fundamental to rocketry. It is the fundamental breakthrough that's needed. If you consider aircraft, for example, you can lease a 747 and do a return flight full of cargo from California to Australia for $500,000. That's what it costs to lease a 747 fully round trip to Australia, which is far. To buy a single-engine turboprop plane, a good one, would be about $1.5 million, and that can't even reach Australia, and it's tiny compared to a 747. So what that means is like it costs less to use a giant plane with huge cargo for a long trip than that costs way less than buying a small plane for a short trip in the aircraft world. And the same actually is true of rocketry. A BFR flight will actually cost less than our Falcon 1 flight did back in the day. Wow. So that was about a $5 or $6 million marginal cost per flight. We're confident that BFR will be less than that. So that's profound, and that is what will enable the creation of a permanent base on the moon and a city on Mars. And that's the equivalent of like the Union Pacific Railroad, or having ships that can cross oceans. Until you can get there, there's no way for all of the entrepreneurial energy to you can't do anything. There's no way for all the flowers to bloom. Once you can get there, the opportunity is immense. So we're going to do our best to get you there, and then make sure that there's an environment in which entrepreneurs can flourish. And then I think it'll be amazing.
A big part of that, and we've talked about this, is inspiring people to look again at this. You know, we were talking about this yesterday. It was our grandparents who went to the moon, and we have not gone back since. You know, in my lifetime, no one's gone to the moon. You and I were having a conversation last year about what to put in Falcon Heavy, and the kind of what's the cargo, and the idea was to use that as an opportunity to inspire people. Again, Carl Sagan had a beautiful thought many, many years ago that if you just get enough people to look at the Earth from a distance, that it would get them to focus on the problems here and on the possibilities of space exploration. I was fortunate enough to be with you at Launch Control when Falcon Heavy launched a few weeks back, and we made a little movie. We've called it a trailer that sums up that experience. We have it here. We thought we'd play it for you guys again. This is 2 minutes that does a pretty good job of giving you the feeling of what it was like to be there when Falcon Heavy launched.
Yeah, we wanted to get the public, we wanted you to get excited about the possibility of something new happening in space, of the space frontier getting pushed forward. The goal of this was to inspire you and make you believe again, just as people believed in the Apollo era, that anything's possible. Thank you.
That picture at the end is a picture of one of the circuit boards inside the Roadster, right?
Yeah. We try to confuse the aliens as much as possible. If you look carefully, there's also a little Hot Wheels version of the Roadster with a tiny little astronaut in the Hot Wheels Roadster on the dashboard. That was just by a friend of ours called Nora. Nora suggested that, and so if you guys have any suggestions, let us know.
I think for me, watching those two boosters come down side by side felt like a transformative moment. It felt like we can do anything. And that's the culmination. I was really struck there by the culmination of, a singular vision and hundreds or thousands of very talented people working together to make sure. I was sitting in launch control and looking at the sheer amount of variables that you guys are clocking in those moments before the launch. Wind speed at different altitudes and the status of all the different 27 engines in that. I mean, how do you manage, you're very hands-on with the details, but you're also looking at the bigger picture. How do you manage your time? How do you parse, how do you zoom in and zoom out and make sure that all these things are coming together?
Well, at SpaceX, almost all my time is spent on engineering and design. It's probably 80 and 90%. And then Gwynn Shotwell, who's president and chief operating officer, takes care of the business operations of the company, which is what allows me to do that. I think in order to make the right decisions, you have to understand something. And if you don't understand something at a detailed level, you cannot make a good decision. But I'd like to just point out, like, what you saw there is a result of an incredible team at SpaceX, super talented people who really work like crazy to make that happen. I think my role is to make sure that they have an environment where they can really, where the talents can really come to the fore, but I can't tell you how honored and grateful I am to work with such a great team.
Everyone in this room is inspired by you. Who are you inspired by?
Well, Kanye West, obviously. So what do you say?
Me too.
Fred Astaire, you should see my dance moves.
We may see some dance moves unless...
I do love Fred Astaire, he's amazing. If you haven't watched his movies, they're amazing.
Yeah. I think for me, when I look at all of the things you've undertaken to do, the commonality is with Tesla, with SpaceX, Solar City, now with the Boring Company. It feels like you're seeing a firmly established and mature industry that is ripe for sort of a quantum shift. That there's an opportunity there for, in the case of cars, it's electrification, which drastically changes, the complexity of an automobile and potentially down the line the expense of it. With rockets, it's the reusability of it. With solar, it's about a firmly established energy system that's about to be massively disrupted. This is happening.